Hello. The Divine Code reading for December 8th. We're looking at page 367. And this is finishing up the chapter, The Prohibition of Grafting Different Species of Fruit Trees. This is a footnote on the text, cross-pollination of flowers of different species of fruit trees, or injection of hormones or sap from one fruit tree into a fruit tree of a different species is permitted. This is not considered as cross-grafting one tree with another. So footnote 267, 267 asks the question, why is it that the cross-grafting of a fruit tree is prohibited, but the cross-pollination and ejection of sap or hormones is not prohibited? Footnote 267. This can be seen from Rashi on Tractate Pesachim 56a. Although Kazan Ish on Kleon 2:16 writes that it is comparable to cross-mating animals, one can make a possible distinction between the two cases. So the question in the previous chapter was the cross-mating of species of animals. This chapter is discussing the cross-grafting of fruit trees. So why would the cross-pollination not be similar to the cross-mating of animals? The only prohibition for Gentiles regarding plants is to do an action of cross-grafting, which must include the fruit trees themselves. But cross-mating animals carries a prohibition in any case where the natural order is changed. And it includes anything that will cause a change in the species, including artificial insemination. See also Minchot Shlomo, Volume 3, Chapter 98. Even though the prohibitions of cross-grafting trees and cross-mating species resemble each other in some respects, and both share the same rationale, not to change the design of nature, cross-mating of animals is more severe. The forbidden cross-grafting of plants only applies when the graft is visually observable. Therefore, the planting of two species in close proximity so their roots will combine underground is permitted. And that's in the earlier topics 6 and 8 of this chapter. This is because the usual method of cross-grafting is done in a visually observant way. So in what's prohibited with regard to plants is a visible change. When it's noticeable that the person is doing something. For that reason, the trees being put together would not be the roots being joined together would not be a concern, and pollination and injection of sap and hormones would not be a concern because these are not visible activities. But rather it's the grafting process, it's the grafting that's done out in the open. However, the prohibition against cross-mating animals is more severe in the following regard. Causing the birth of a hybrid species of animal is a change in nature that may not result from the cross-mating. However, the action of cross-mating of two different species, even if they cannot produce an offspring, is also prohibited. Because this unnatural mating is in itself a change in the natural order regarding the outcome. So creating a new animal species and changing the natural order of mating that God made in the world are both prohibited regardless of how the change is made. But for different types of vegetation, there isn't a prohibition at all for Gentiles to sow or plant them together side by side. So the general attitude towards cross-grafting vegetation is more lenient. So people are allowed, non-Jews are allowed to sow seed together so that a farm field can turn out in a very mixed manner, and all the plants are together like that. And there will be a certain amount of cross-pollination, a certain amount of sharing of roots, and that's considered acceptable. Yeah, what occurs with plants is more looser than what is acceptably the normal activity with animals is that they don't would not normally crossmate. Therefore, that is more with regard to animals is more of a change, and therefore the rules are stricter regarding animals than they are regarding plants. Furthermore, mankind was not given permission for unlimited control over animals. So we see, with regard to plants, we have more of a degree of control over the plants in the Torah, in the Bible, that what was told to Adam, is stronger regarding his control over plants than it is over his control over animals. The cross mating is a type of unnecessary control. In contrast, Gentiles are not forbidden to waste or cut down trees unnecessarily on a limited scale. So we would be permitted to, let's say, clear cut an area of forest if we're going to put a farm on the forest. Whereas we would not be allowed to just start slaughtering animals recklessly in the same manner. We would have to give more consideration for the animals than we do for the plants. Editor's note. We see that as a practical matter, many modern governments have instituted laws to preserve the growth of trees, such as managed harvesting as a natural resource for preservation in local or national parks, for beautification of towns and cities, to protect the landscape against erosion and the atmosphere against pollution, and to maintain a habitat for wildlife. In general, this rational concern for the environment is consistent with one of the main accomplishments that God desired for mankind. Yeshuv Olam, the efforts of each individual and group to contribute to the making of a settled world for all the people of all nations, with societies that function properly and morally in God's eyes, harmoniously with each other, and responsibility with the natural world and its bountiful resources. May it be God's will that this text will help bring this to fruition. So it's part of the, this would be under the laws of Dinam, that it's proper to be concerned about both the wildlife and also the plants that exist in the world. And we do have an obligation to care for that, to have proper stewardship over these things, such as the management of the natural resources. And just as a note, the end of this is on the next page, which is blank, which will be page 368, is blank, and therefore we read page 24. That's in the editor's introduction, and I'm going to do that in a separate video. Thank you.